Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 7, episode number 24. Tonight's the Songs edition. Andy, how are you doing?
I am good. I am good. How about you?
Good, good. It's April 23rd, 2026. We're doing a Songs edition album review tonight. And we've dug deep, Andy. We've dug deep for this one. It's a band.
And I think
A band we've never done before. A band we've never done before for tonight's episode. It's an album review called a band called Joy Division. Joy Division, for those who haven't followed or heard, this is a 1979 album called Unknown Pleasures. So here's the album, Andy. Now, these guys came from a punk, kind of a post-punk background, and we're only around for a couple of albums. But look at this. Now, look at this album cover. Not a fan. I like the artistic kind of cover albums, the photographs, the good stuff like we're used to with the hair metal bands. This one isn't much, but Unknown Pleasures is the debut studio album by English rock band Joy Division, released June 1979. The cover artwork was designed by artist Peter Saville using a data plot of signals from a radio pulsar. Now that's good. That's fine. It's interesting.
That's cute.
It's not, I don't think, what you and I both like for doing album reviews. And we've done a lot. Our 300th is coming up here next in a couple of months. So we've done a bunch of album reviews. First one from Joy Division. Now the name, Andy, the name Joy Division, they were going to name themselves. They were from Britain, and it was Warsaw. They were going to name it Warsaw. But the record label said it sounds kind of too much like Warsaw Pact, the Warsaw Pact band. And so they said, let's skip it, call it Joy Division. They said, what is that? Joy Division, I looked it up, was used in Nazi Germany in Auschwitz concentration camp. One of the buildings in the concentration camp at Auschwitz was called the Joy Division because that's where the ladies were. It was kind of a brothel there on the site, and was used for they just call it the Joy Division. We'll leave it at that. But that's where they named it from. That's where the name came from. This was the guys in the band went to a Sex Pistols live show. And they came home and said, you know what? We need to join a band. Let me look it up here.
And just get back to the album cover. In my opinion, this looks like something I doodled on my notebook in high school.
Yeah, and it's a radio pulsar, and that's great for the artistic folks, but for you and I, the people looking at it, we don't know what that is or what that means. It just looks like a doodle. So I like, I'm not a big fan of the plain.
Or if your band name was something like Tesla that had something to do with radio, then maybe it'd make more sense.
Yes.
When you're named after a concentration camp whorehouse, and you put radio, I'm not seeing the mix here.
So the bassist and the drummer leaves a Sex Pistols concert in 1976. They get home, and on the way home, they say, we're going to join a band. First thing we do in the morning, I'm going to go to a store and get a guitar, a bass. You're going to go to another store and get a drum set, and we're going to learn, and we're going to become a band. And so they picked up a guitarist, they picked up lead vocalist, and they became a band. And they wanted a little different sound, and so that's what they came up with. Very different. It's post-punk, but there's no aggression on stage. There's no anger like the punk had always associated themselves with the anger. So these guys went into the emotion and the emotional lyrics and things. So here's the track listing. Many songs are single word titles. I do like that. I think it's very interesting. First song, Disorder. Next song, Day of the Lords. Kind of a dystopian end of the world song. Very dark. Some of these are very, dark, disturbing thought lines going on here. Next song is Candidate. Next song is Insight. Next song is The New Day, New Dawn Fades. Song 6 is She's Lost Control. Song 7 is Shadow Play. Song 8, Wilderness. Song 9, Interzone. And song 10, I Remember Nothing. So what this band did, Andy, they were, I wouldn't say monotone. They're very good musicians. even though they came from very strange backgrounds.
Yeah.
They've got some good music, but they were kind of down, not Debbie Downers, but kind of down, emotional, depression, kind of topics that were kind of negative or emotional. And upon further reading, this kind of stuff really engaged the Pacific Northwest in the 90s with the grunge scene. They really liked this and copied and slash, mimicked almost it. So did you see the similarities there a little bit?
And I remember when you sent me this band, who it was, and I'm like, no, he misspelled something. That's not, I've never heard of him. And I looked him up, and I saw how they had influenced a lot of grunge people. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's where we got the name from. I don't know why to do it. We saw it in the grunge. People always, hey, this band. All right. And so today, it's a little late to the party. I thought, better do my homework. Better listen to my Joy Division. See what it's all about. About 17 seconds in, I said, that's enough.
Too much. Not enough. Didn't do it for you.
At the beginning was like, okay. Then I heard the first 3 words out of his mouth. I thought, no, this is just depressing. It's boring. No, that's not me. Now, maybe it was just the first song. I thought, I'll wait and see what Dan says. And if that's kind of the whole basis of the album, I called it spot on. If it was just that one song, I'll give him another shot. But to me, a little very beginning. And I know you're a grunge guy, or you were a grunge guy. That's kind of got you into it. But
yes, I became a grunge guy later on. But after I understood, how the music and the lyrics work. And this is very similar to that. I've only listened to this 2 times myself. I could kind of see the connection. I can see it. The personnel here. Now check this out. The personnel is Ian Curtis, the late Ian Curtis on vocals, Bernard Sumner guitar, Peter Hook on bass, and Stephen Morris on drums. So an easy enough quartet. I really like some of the bass lines and stuff. The vocals by Ian Curtis reminded me of Jim Morrison, and as I looked it up a little more. That was one of his influencers. Jim Morrison, The Doors. Some of this stuff sounded the same, very similar to that. Now, Andy, you're not a big fan of The Doors either, so that's and you're not a Morrison guy. So I can see why this didn't take hold. But I think this is one of those albums that you listen to it a few times, it starts to grow on you, and I think that's where people like it. This band has fans. They only did the 2 albums. Let's see. I don't even know.
I think they had 3 albums.
2 or 3, maybe.
3.
But Andy, they're in the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're inductees in 2026. They just came in.
And the Scorpions aren't. That's fair.
Yes. So I think that may have been on our list as how this album came up to be recommended, because someone along the way said, try to do this if you're into the grunge Seattle scene. Joy Division is kind of where all that got started. So please leave your comments below and questions, because I think it would maybe be someone that we had a guest on one of our interviews on these Seattle tribute bands. I'm guessing they came up with the thing. And this, I could see people following into this. Now, the lead vocalist did die by suicide. He had a strange case, very bad case of epilepsy that he found out, and was very hard to perform on stage. Had a couple grand mal seizures, was only 23 years old. They had just booked a big North American tour. And what he had told his wife, he had a wife and a child, and says, really struggled with the fact that if he has a seizure on stage in front of North America on a tour, he'd be mortified. And he'd be a killer. He was so horrendously mortified that something would go haywire like that. Only 23 years old. He had this debilitating deal, and a lot of things were not going right. So before they left, the night before the tour, he hung himself. So that, as we've learned with other album reviews, that's going to kick off additional sales of the album and create this kind of a lore, this story now. And they had already recorded all their songs for the second album before he died. So now they wait a couple months, put that together, and release that album. And so just like that, they've got 2 albums out there now that are both on the charts because of the man's death. And it kind of took them to that instant status right away.
We've talked about that with the Metallica albums and stuff. Yeah.
how some of that really kicks things off as far as that. Now, the cover image became strongly associated with the band's fans at goth gatherings later in the 80s. So this cover, once again, you and I here in our 50s, we don't get it, we don't understand it, but the younger crowd in the 80s really loved this. The goth fans, the remaining members of the band after the lead singer died, they got another vocalist and called their band New Order. And so they were right away, they all said, if anyone leaves the band, if anyone takes off, we will rename. We're not going to go ahead and try to sound the same like you've talked about before. Yeah. They said, we're not going to do that. So if you like this band, look up New Order. And they went on to do other things, but this is a very iconic band, Andy. Not in our following. We're heavy metal guys, right? We're rock guys, hard rock, heavy metal. And so this punk is very, very interesting, but it has a big following. This band's very, very popular. And let's see what else I've got here. Here it is. Now check this out. In 2016, according to Wikipedia here, Paste magazine names this album as the 5th best post-punk album of all time. So that nails it for you. We're not in that genre. Yeah. I can appreciate it, the music, of course. We can appreciate it.
Out there who have great albums. Not saying they're not talented. They're just not something I like. Yeah. When I say I couldn't take 15 seconds of it, 17 seconds. That's just my taste. Not saying they're bad.
Yeah, this group has a big following. They're called a forward-thinking group of English rockers whose sum was more than its individual parts. So they're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they did something right.
Like we said, got nominated twice. They got nominated twice, got missed the cut, and then on their third, now they're in 2026. They just went in here last month. So hats off, congrats to Joy Division. But I'm hoping for a lot of comments here on this one, Andy, from the fans. I don't have much that we could offer on this.
Is there a song of theirs I should listen to again to try to like them? And didn't do it for me.
I went to the popular ones, and they didn't ring a bell. It wasn't in my wheelhouse, so I wasn't familiar with anyone. The second time through the album, the songs started to grow on me a little more and tie back to that grunge stuff. So I think that's where the connection is. These guys sang, the lyrics are all done by the vocalist. The vocalist, very intellectual thinker as far as he was cutting edge and very much a genius, folks say, but struggled with things personally and died in 1980.
Yeah, there were. I don't know if you want to say they were before their time. Maybe that's why. But they caught on. Again, you never know. The singer was stating they've been something
his
else.
Widow's still alive. She wrote a book about him called. There's a documentary or a film made called Control, kind of the autobiography of Ian and what he dealt with and what they went through as a couple and the things they were going through. And she wrote a book about that, and it became a movie. So maybe I'll put the link of that in as well if you want to watch that movie called Control, how he did as much as he could to control his life, but how it ended was the physical, medical part of his life had control over him, and it didn't work. It didn't work both ways when you're trying to control everything, and epilepsy has control over you. So he struggled with it, but give it a listen. It's interesting stuff. Joy Division. And we'll be back next week with another album review.
All right. See ya.